one of Roland's key pieces of advice sometimes is if you want to practice speech, record yourself if you can. If you've got a camera, then record yourself and you can kind of see all the things that you do that you don't realize you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, we welcome Roland.
Thank you. Jeff and I have done cross communications for 3 years now. We're on this is our 3rd anniversary of our radio show. And it leads right in to something Jeff was talking about, the great world mover, boredom. I think in the old days, wars were created because people were bored. And I have this theory of the universe, that the beginning of the universe happened because the gods were bored. But I look at life, and one of the things I've been doing like this last year is stopping at different Toastmasters. When you walk into another Toastmaster, you get this whole group that looks at the stranger. And you get some people that say, oh, they're threatening me because I'm the best Toastmaster here. And they look at the others and say, probably another boring speech. Maybe a travel itinerary. You look at it and say, but what am I going to talk about? And that's one of the problems I've always had is, how am I going to interest these new people? And I have all this stuff going that I want to tell them. I mean, 10 billion things going in my mind that I want to tell them. And I got to knock it down 7 minutes with 1 or 2 items. Well, one of my great 2-word statements that I have used to keep from the great boredom is, what for? What for? Well, I looked at these big words. See, I'm an old truck driver. I worked at truck docks when I was growing up, so I always consider myself sort of a Teamster that talks. And on the truck driving thing, you don't say, I'm looking for this multi-purpose in life. You look at it next week and you say, what for? Especially when my wife says, let's go to the store. But I have it for life. I have what for? I say, you need short-term, middle-term, and long-term. What for is it? If you're going to create a life that's always interesting, you should have this multitude of what fors. Why am I here? What for? What purpose do I have? I'll give you an example. This is part of our radio show. It's like, I was 68 or 69, and I said, well, I could go and visit old Mr. Boredom, or I can get a what for? So I looked and I says, what can I do? And so I always wait for the universe to sort of tell me, and all of a sudden something random came up and said, I want you to do a radio show on stories. Why don't you create stories and show people how to tell stories when they go? Cool. Then then after that, why do you become a country western star? Country western star. Well, they laugh at me when I sing at home. In fact, they walk out of the room when I sing at home. And if they want to threaten someone, they'll have Roland sing to them. So I said, well, I'll do that anyway. I said, cool. And I don't know where these, somewhere in the universe, there's someone with humor. His what for is to put Roland in situations that they get a chuckle out of. So, my what fors are this, and they've been this for 4 years now of the 8 years. And one thing I found about life on what for is you set up what for, you set up purpose, and you start doing these things, is attitude. Attitude is everything. And every night I have all these dreams of everything failing, and the next morning I get up and I look at the world and I say, I choose to have it all successful. Whatever my dreams are, whatever my fears are, I choose to be successful. I have what fors. So I proceed with the day with my choices. Okay? And I sort of wipe the dreams away because they do nothing. And I have found over these 73 years that some of the fears that I grabbed and walked with, about 99% of them were ridiculous because nothing happened. I had absolutely nothing happen. Okay? I had none of the negatives happen. And they were all useless. They were all waste of times. So if I kept my what for and I kept my attitude, man, life is cool. And in doing that, I find I work to be healthier and I work to have all these things going on in my life. Now, what do they call it?
Circumlocution.
Circumlocution around the whole subject was that getting right to the middle of it. In the middle is this big whirlpool, and it's called boredom. And so you keep your what fors and you keep your wants and you keep all this other stuff going. And why do you keep it going? To avoid going into the boredom. Okay? And as you get older, you have a tendency to have more relaxed time. I don't quite want to get up and do it. I don't quite want to. You know that now when you have those rest days. I don't quite want to get up. Well, you need what fors. You need driving force, and you need as many as you need. Now, like in business, I'm still a business person. Okay? I'm still a business person. I have at least 15 or 16 revenue things going on every time, all the time. Always. Something I add. I add something every couple of months. And things that have happened to me. I mean, right now I have about like $10,000 coming in through the year from all my little projects. That's cute money. Plus, I mean, actually, I have, for my big business, I have a couple $100,000, but that's different. But I have all these little things, just little things, because I have a whole bunch of what fors. I don't limit my what fors. Do not limit your what fors. Attitude, what fors. They're all absolutely wonderful. So, right now, I want to show you a little magic. What I found is, if you have attitude and you have what fors, the universe, I've got people here, and God has a tendency to feed you with that. And I want to show you one example in ending the story, and it's about being a country western star. During the last part of it, during this last year, all of a sudden, I met some awesome country western people. I met an awesome country western star. Her name is Angie Sanger. She's going to be on a radio show today. And I had started getting into music before that, but it just happened. I mean, random things happen, and all of a sudden. And I started doing videos. And I really liked what she was doing. I said, well, I'll just add another radio show on. We'll have one on top of another. We'll have Women's Stories Opry. Now, I mean, Women's Stories Opry. I gotta get. 6 months earlier, I knew nothing about music. And all of a sudden now, I'm sitting there. I got this Western star, and I said, well, I'll tell you what. Because I had my green screen and I was videoing Women's Stories. I says, I will video singers that sing. She said, oh, that'd be great. So they started bringing these singers. And then I said, well, I'll just do the singers that have written their own original songs. Wow. Well, I've had this thing started build and build and build. Now, we have about 50 class singers in this world that belong to Omen Stories, that are on Omen Stories, that you can go see on Omen Stories. We have, we went from 4,000 hits at the beginning of the year to when we do the music, 20,500 hits right now for the beginning of the year. Wow. And most of it's the music. And I have these people that come up and they say, Roland, what? I said, what do you do? I say, I teach music. I said, can you teach me how to do the guitar? Yeah! So I get one lesson here, and I get one lesson there, and I get one lesson over. And all of a sudden, I'm guitar. And so my son, for Christmas, bought me this video guitar training course, of which I'm sitting in front of the thing now doing guitar. Now singing, which is something totally foreign to me, which I was going from, what happened even in Toastmasters? The last talk I sat up here, or stood up here, and I sang, and we all sang together. And it's because of my what for and my awesome man